is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media Incorporated.
The NFL is officially back. CFL Week 10 was full of absolute dumpster Pelican-esque play. There's one person and a few others rocking the Guardian cap, and will it motivate others to follow suit? And the Kansas City Chiefs get absolutely screwed by the new kickoff rules. All that and more on this edition of Total Football Talk. Welcome, one and all. It's that time again. We're back for Total Football Talk action. I am your co-host, Drew Willingham, along with the EP of all EPs, my man, Cole Johnson.
Oh, Lord. He is Harry carrying up again. Well, it is good to see you, sir. It is good to see all of you, the TFT tribe. I hope everything is good with all of you, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands dirty with this football talk.
Absolutely. I'm about to do the old school Roman Reigns and charge up for the Superman punch, because we are about to smack some teams in the mouth. And we'll throw the ones up for the Bloodline and our man Roman, the Usos, as well as, you know, a close personal friend of Sertoba Media, their Lance Anoa'i, as now we are back for the 50th edition of Total Football Talk, live right now on Comey Media Incorporated, as well as Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome. And we're here to talk about the new NFL kickoff rule that results in the Chiefs losing preseason opener. We've got also much more with CFL Week 10's recap. We've got the Week 11 preview and much more. We even got a special segment for our man Kyle Nash today, who I nicknamed the architect of the Bing last week on the In or Out Sports Debate. Go check that out. Episode 118 is available. Episode 119 is tonight at 9:05 p.m. Eastern Time. And a little bit of a spoiler alert, this is the very last episode on Monday nights going forward. And I had to get that off my chest because it's a little bit tough to acknowledge that. But right here and now, for the 50th edition of Total Football Talk, we are here. Let's go ahead and get it rocking and rolling with the opening drive.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Ready.
And here with the opening drive, Cole, you know, you and I talked about it in the green room before we got started about how tough it was to watch this Week 10 and CFL action, just because when you look at the four games that were played, it was kind of tough to pick who the actual game of the week was going to be. Okay. There was definitely an upset, and we're going to get to that here shortly. A team that has back-to-back wins that we didn't expect to have back-to-back wins, but I'm looking forward to talking about them. But when it comes to our first game that we will cover, let's go to Friday, August 9th, and talk about the Calgary Stampeders traveling to Toronto to take on the Argonauts. You know, Argonauts win this game 39-25, and they really needed this win after losing to the Stampeders the week prior. I mean, this is the back-to-back weeks they played each other. Toronto needed this game to basically get back above 500, and they did that in this win here. You know, they're now 5-4, winning 39-25. Backup quarterback Nick Arbuckle leads the game with, leads the team with 181 passing yards, a touchdown, an interception. Has a whopping 3 carries on the ground for 4 yards. Kadeem Carey, probably the highlight of this team right here. Again, 13 carries for 89 yards and a touchdown, along with 2 receptions for 22 yards. Mekhi Polk, 4 receptions for 50 yards and a touchdown, along with DeVaris Daniels, 3 receptions for 31 yards. Another highlight for this team was punt returner Janarian Grant, 4 returns, 103 yards with a punt return touchdown, helped get this team over the hump with an additional score on the day. The Argonauts defense, 3 sacks, an interception by Deshaun Amos, 2nd consecutive week with an interception, 3rd on the year for him. Jake Meyer of the Stampeders, 373 passing yards, a touchdown and an interception. The Stampeders running backs, between 3 different running backs put up 79 yards on 16 attempts and 2 touchdowns. Decent team effort between the 3 running backs. However, their running game wasn't strong enough to get them over the hump as they lost by 2 scores. Reggie Begelton, 8 receptions, 104 yards. Cameron Eccles-Luper, 1 reception, 10 yards and a touchdown. The Stampeders defense, 1 sack and an interception by Demario Houston, who also has consecutive games with an interception like on the other side for the Argonauts with Deshaun Amos. When you look at these stats right here, Cole, when you think about how this game went, what are your overall thoughts on what you saw in all 4 quarters of this game?
Well, I would probably say that it looks like this one, you had sort of to tip your cap a little bit to the Argonauts defense and the Argonauts special teams. I mean, the offense did okay. Look, shout out to the running game actually being pretty good, but not wow. The passing game not being wow. And the reason why I'm saying okay, I mean, a touchdown in the pick in the air, and only a touchdown on the ground. So yeah, I definitely had to tip my cap a little bit to the defense, getting 3 sacks and the special teams. And I think that's where it is for me. Stampeders, yeah, they wow. I mean, I don't know what to make of this team. I think they don't know if they want to be physical. They don't know if they want to throw it all over the yard. I don't think they know what they want to do. But what I do know is their indecision on what their team is costing them games. And we're already now past halfway point of the season. They better start finding out who they are and who they are fast. Otherwise, they might as well play for 2025 and be a spoiler as soon as week 11, because they can't keep being like this. 4-5, that's not cutting it. And they've had 2 shots at the Argonauts and whiffed. So that's also a bad thing. So yeah, shout out to the Argonauts defense and special teams. I think that to me, that's why I circle and say this is where the game was won.
To help you out a little bit, kind of like the Tony Reale of
Around the horn.
The Stampeders actually won last week. We did talk about that. And you said that the Argonauts were going to win this game this week.
I did.
You were 100% right. So, and like you've helped me out in certain situations where, I mean, well, make mistakes. We're human. I mean, we misquote things sometimes. But like good teammates, we help each other out in the moments. And Stampeders, they won last week. It was 27-23 was the final score last week. This week, we look at how things spanned for this team, and the Stampeders looked like a different team than what we saw play against the Argonauts last week. I think one of the decisive factors for this, though, was the fact that they were playing an away game this time, and when they had home last week, I think home field advantage really paid off for the Stampeders. Things were a little bit different when you look at how things went this week, and I think that the home advantage helped both teams out, as the Argonauts were at home this week and they got the dub. Last week, the Stampeders were at home. They got the dub, and this is where we're at. I mean, you look at the production by both teams. Overall, looking at how things went throughout the entirety of the game, Kadeem Carey was big for the Argonauts. The fact that they're winning games with their backup quarterback still shows they got a pretty solid team, because it's not that often when a backup quarterback comes in and shines better than the starting quarterback. And Arbuckle hasn't done any of that. He has not played up to the level of his predecessor. Okay. Now, when I think about all this, I don't think this team is going to be able to survive the entirety of the season playing the way they are and relying on just one main person, and that's their running back. Even though you and I have discussed it on several occasions about how the running back establishes the flow of the game, okay, and especially the flow of the offense mainly. That's right. All good and well. but you got to have a quarterback that's consistent. If Arbuckle continues to
Mhm.
turn the ball over like he has and is multiple times at behind center, they're not going to win many more games. This is not going to work out for this team if they continue to play that way. The only reason why they're playing that this way, they won the game, and it's like you said, the Stampeders are hot and cold pretty much. You don't know what you're really going to expect because they're very inconsistent. And that's why they were very good last week and got the win at home, even though it was only by 4 points. But then the next week, here we are with the Toronto Argonauts at home, and they treat the Calgary Stampeders like a bunch of dumpster pelicans. That's what I saw in this game. So hopefully, and I'm hoping that we can turn this thing around. And that's what I'm thinking if I'm a supporter of the Calgary Stampeders. Luckily, we're not talking about my team yet, and we will here in a second. With that being said, let's go ahead and take it to the next game. So our next game here, a team that I dubbed 2.5 months ago as the Hamilton Tiger Kitties, traveled to Montreal to take on a team that originally gave them that name for me because of how the Montreal Alouettes are playing, and they are still living up to their hype. That is our guy Ryan McCarthy's team right there that he has publicly said. And if all things go very well and planned, he will be here for hour 2 to discuss some NFL and previews for the upcoming week's games for CFL after we review them in hour 1, starting next week. Fingers crossed, all that still works out. But here we are now talking about his team, the Alouettes, as they host the Hamilton Tiger Kitties and beat them 33-23 in this Saturday game a couple of days ago. Davis Alexander, backup quarterback. I mean, this was the week of the backup quarterbacks, Cole. Some of them living up to their hype, some of them playing like absolute dumpster pelicans. And I would have to say, Davis Alexander was not amongst that crew as he threw 247 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over, had 3 carries for 27 yards, averaging 9 yards per carry, which is pretty respectable for a backup quarterback, right? Where things kind of go a little sideways in comparison to how they have previously played this person, Walter Fletcher, the running back, only 8 carries, 53 yards, and 2 receptions for 22 yards. Very quiet on the day when you think about the fact that Alouettes still put up 33 points. Charleston Rambo, 6 receptions, 124 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Shedler Furvius, 1 reception for 48 yards. That right there is absolutely awesome. The fact that he only had 1 reception wasn't awesome, but he had 48 yards with that 1 reception. The defense on the day, 2 sacks, as well as an interception by Darnell, not the playmaker, but an actual playmaker in this game, Sankey. When you think about all that, the Alouettes did their job overall and got it done. That's why they put up 33 points on the day. Bo Levi Mitchell, though, the tales of woe, Levi Mitchell, 25 passing yards and an interception on the day. Backup quarterback comes in and outshines him. 319 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 carries for 52 yards added to that as well. Outshines the running back as well. When you think about James Butler, who only had 9 carries for 40 yards, 5 receptions for 27 yards, he adds as well. Shamar Bridges for the receivers, 8 receptions, 103 yards. Stephen Dunbar, 6 receptions, 63 yards, and a touchdown. His second consecutive week with a touchdown. The biggest highlight for the Hamilton Tiger Kitties, I would have to say. But when you think about the defense, 1 sack, and they gave up 33 points. They absolutely sucked, okay? When I put all that in perspective and you think about this and the overview of the 4 quarters of this game, what are your thoughts when looking back on this team and both of these teams right here, Cole?
Well, the Tiger Cats are, well, they'll say they're reverting back to form. Decent passing totals with the running and the defense being almost non-existent. So they're reverting back to form now. The Alouettes, they're doing well with their backup. And I think when you want your backups to be there, you'd want them to not make the mistakes, and he didn't make a mistake. So that's good. That's good to know there. The passing game is solid. I won't say it's strong, but it's solid. But you can't have, especially when you have success on the ground, you cannot have your ball carrier only have it 8 times. I mean, you gotta come up with some more carries, in my opinion, or have 2 or 3 more backs to carry the load along with him. That's the only thing that gives me pause about the Alouettes, their running game. And I know they sort of have a balance, and they sort of strike a balance between whoever's in the backfield and the quarterback being able to run out the pocket and scramble. And yeah, 3 carries from a quarterback, that's doable. But I would like to see more in the running game from the Alouettes. Otherwise, I would say this was just about, not quite, but almost a pretty good performance. But poor Bo Levi. Wow.
You know, like the big tail of woe. That's why I started calling it the big tail of Bo. That's just how it is when we look at this situation right here. It's dismal, very dismal to watch. I mean, we were talking about the Elkamos. We were talking about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and about how, I was going off on them and giving them a hard time at the beginning of the season, and deservingly so. I mean, but these teams that I just mentioned are now turning it around a little bit, or at least in comparison to the Hamilton Tiger Cats recently, they are. Looking at this right here, I mean, if you're a fan of this team, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some riots out here in these streets of Hamilton. And the riot mainly being the fact that they need to change the name. This is kind of like when you think about the Washington team in the NFL.
Oh, Lord.
Formerly known as the Redskins. We could talk about that another time. Right here and now. Does their name affect the way they're playing? No. But it might affect their morale, because when you think about you're playing a team in the Alouettes, okay? You're proud to play for a team, that used to be a former American team, Baltimore. Ryan's talked to us about it on several occasions. You think about that. And you're playing against a team known as the Tiger Cats, and you're a player on that team. And you're suiting up, and you see Tiger Cats on that jersey. Are you excited to play for that team? No, you're probably not. And why? Because they suck. So you have 2 things, a bad name and a sucky team.
Oh, no.
So the morale is going to be bad. You're not going to produce. You're not going to be able to drop dimes out there on that field, or even in these streams if you have a terrible name. So when you think about all that, which I've thought long and hard about this, that's why I gave them the name Tiger Kitties.
Good Lord.
This team needs to fix it all from top to bottom. And I think they really need to start at quarterback, because look at what Powell did. Look at his production, not only in the air, but on the ground. He was a positive spark to this team. The reason why I just said all of what I just said is that could be part of the mentality of old Bo Levi Mitchell. You're older. You don't have what you used to have when you used to play for championship caliber teams, because you have championships in the CFL. We've discussed that. You're now playing for a terrible team overall. That's what's in your mind. You get behind center and you're thinking that way. The production's not going to be consistent, for one, and you're not going to have positive numbers. Taylor Powell, much younger, doesn't have much to lose, has a lot more to gain. And he proved that in this game. He didn't have to go out there and ball out like he did, but he did because he wanted to. He didn't care what the name of the team was. He didn't care that, 10 other people around him absolutely maybe, consistently suck. But they consistently sucked because of who the quarterback was. Sometimes when you make a change at your leader, you have positive results. And that's what happened in this game, I feel like. So putting all that in perspective, now what are your thoughts based on what I just said?
The Tiger Cats suck, and it's unfortunate. I mean, you could put it on the name. You can hang on to the name. I'm sorry. Look, they could be Blue Magic. They could be they could be the Dominators. They could be Demolition. No matter what you name this team. Let me see if I could put it in ways that it's understandable. In baseball parlance, the Chicago White Sox would do better as a football team than the Tiger Cats of Hamilton. That is how bad this team is. And it's unfortunate. They need a spark. And then when they get one with a W, they revert back to just taking more and more of let me see if I can think of the letter. I can't think of this letter real fast. Oh yeah. They keep taking more and more of these. Once there was a guy when I was in the music business, he wrote a rap, and he said something very poignant, and he was talking about somebody that he didn't really like, but he said in this rhyme, quote, "You can dress a turd in a tux, but it's still a piece of clothes," quote.
That was beautifully played, Cole Johnson. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. That was, you can't dress clothes. Oh, well, hopefully this team learns from the recent changes and they stick with them, and hopefully it leads into positive sparks for them. There's still a good amount of the season left. It's not looking promising for them, of course, as far as a postseason, berth in this season. But it's the same point. Got to build towards a future, and Bo Levi is closer towards retiring than he is towards leading a team to another championship. So it's sad to say that. And, based on his production in the past, I don't even really truly want to acknowledge that because I appreciate what he's done, for this league and for the Alouettes and stuff previously. But looking at this right here and now, it's a tough situation to be part of. But speaking about, comments and things, we have to get to our TFT tribe out here, and Sick Diggy's in the house saying, "We're here, we're live, and the shenanigans are about to run wild." Absolutely.
Yes, they are. Thank you.
You got two gentlemen, quick fingers, myself and Cole, just like you showed with the close quote. I'm still tripping over that. That was absolutely beautiful. The way he put it in there, I'll say expletive. He say close quote. They both work out just fine.
Thank you.
Mickey Delaney's in the house, says,
"What's up, Nick?
Go."
What's up, Sick? What's up, Nick? It's good to see you both.
It crew. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys being out here in these streams with us today. And the Playmaker is here too.
Playmaker
says, "My man, Sensei Drew. Thank you for Cole for your Olympic coverage with me. Now football takes over the sports world."
Yeah, no problem, man. It's a pleasure. It was a pleasure to be there with you. And again, thank you for giving me on the morning shift with a whole lot of sports updates and sports headlines. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope someday I can get to a more a better schedule to where I can tune into that consistently. It's tough. You already know the situation, and my Sotoba medians know it as well. But here we are with our people out here in these streams, and even Ike is here. Says, "Yo,
Ike,
what's up, fellas?
Everything is good, Ike. I hope everything's good with you, man."
Thank you, Ike, for tuning in. We appreciate you, as well as Dante Hill, my man. He's an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
Besides him being an Eagles fan, he is still my man within the division, and I appreciate you being here, there, brother. And look forward to bringing you guys some more Total Football Talk action here in a second. Even Sick Diggy added, "Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night."
Good evening to you, Sick.
Yeah, it is almost, what is it? Is it 11:30 where he's at right now? He's 7 hours
10.
ahead.
Yeah,
10:30.
10:30. Yeah, 10:30.
6 hours ahead. Okay. We're glad that you were here. Sick as a night owl. So he's just getting revved up right now. Glad that we could give him his action. And as always, whether you're watching this on Comey Media Incorporated or if you're watching this on Sartoba Media, subscribe now and never miss out on new content. If you're listening in on WQEE 99.1 FM in Georgia, as well as on Real Wise Radio, make sure you give them a thumbs up and subscription, no matter how you're listening, or dial into their channel and let them know. Let them know how much you appreciate them and what you're listening to right now. With that being said, we have to take this into our next game. Right here for game number 3. Let's go to Sunday. And this game, overall, I think we can agree is as the upset of the week. Yeah, I mean, back-to-back weeks. A team that was 0-7 has now won back-to-back games. I mean, it's hard to fathom this when you think about the Edmonton Elks, who have a home game. The name still lives on ever since that episode me and Brian McCarthy did. The Elks continue to live on. And the BC Lions have reverted into what these Elks once were. Consecutive weeks. I think it's 3 weeks now they've lost consecutively. I know it's back-to-back weeks at least. I'll have to fact check myself. I know this is at least back-to-back weeks because Vernon Adams, got hurt last week, have been struggling, as the top of the league, MVP candidate, leading this team to where we were holding them in high regard, like at that time, the Montreal Alouettes, who were still playing very well, and my team, which has kind of slipped out of the race as well, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. BC Lions here on the road only put up 16 points. The Edmonton Elks at home put up 33 points, getting their second consecutive win. McLeod Bethel-Thompson returns to form as he has 171 passing yards, a touchdown and an interception in this game on Sunday. Trey Ford, the backup quarterback, does play again, but only puts up 96 passing yards. Didn't really do much, but he did contribute enough to help this team out as they, he came in basically in cleanup duty once they were up by quite a bit. Javon Leake, 21 carries on the day, led the team, led the game.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he led the team, he led the game, he led the entire league in individual carries for this weekend. 21 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown.
Yes.
4 receptions, 37 yards. I mean, combined, this man had over 100 total, combined yards on the day. Absolute big contributor and probably one of the biggest reasons why they won this game. Tevin Jones, 6 receptions, 123 yards. Justin Rankin, 1 reception, 17 yards, but puts in a touchdown in the end zone after grabbing that one lone pass in the air from McLeod Bethel-Thompson to even up his production at a touchdown and interception on the day. The Elks defense, though, pretty quiet. 2 sacks on the day, not forcing any turnovers, but they only gave up 16 points as they were battling against the backup quarterback on the other side. Jacob Dolgala, 146 passing yards. No touchdowns. He also has 1 carry for 5 yards on the day. William Stanback, 13 carries, 87 yards, and puts up a dismal 3 receptions for 9 yards on the day. The BC Lions defense, though, a little bit more productive than the Elks as far as the fact they had 2 sacks, and they did force the interception by McLeod Bethel-Thompson, but they still gave up 33 points on the day. When you look at this game right here, the production by both teams, one falling off the cliff, one who has been off the cliff and starting to climb it. What are your total thoughts of this game right here?
Oh, man. See, this game warms my offensive lineman heart. I love it when I see a team commit to the run with a running back. He didn't get 100 yards, but he got close to it, And because of that, good things happened. And everything else spawned off of those good things. And you had, you did have the QB throw for a pick, but you didn't have to throw it all over the yard to get to get yards, to move the chains. You had a balanced offense. The defense, they didn't do bang up, but they did pretty well. And they kept the team that just a month ago was putting up Madden numbers. They were scoring 35 and 40 points routinely and throwing for 350 to 450 yards routinely. And they struggle now to throw for 150. Yes, I know it's the backup QB, but still, it's still the professional quarterback that's out there. They held this team to under 150 yards passing. Now, the running, that's a different story. But still, hey, I can't fault them for it. They turned them over. They held them. They held a good offense to basically be flummoxed, or at least continue to be flummoxed. This does not seem like the heretofore winless team that was coming into the month. They seem to have found a little bit of themselves, and kudos to the Elks. I'm glad that they're fighting, and I'm glad that all phases are into one to turn this whole program around, and looks like they are now already in the midst of wanting to disappoint many teams that are in the playoff hunt for that Grey Cup.
Absolutely. We'll have to see how things pan out with that, because, I had so much hope for the BC Lions. You think about, how their season started, and it goes to show how their team was pretty much built around their quarterback. I mean, it's okay if your offense is built around him, but when your entire team can't put up any points or can't stop any type of production, like we did talk about how inconsistent their defense was the early part of the year, and how they were going to have to fix some things. It doesn't look like they'd made any adjustments with that, because now your quarterback is down and you've got a dumpster fire brewing for this team. I'm not going to call them dumpster Pelicans yet, because they're still above 500, but not for much longer if they do the same thing this upcoming week, because they're not the team with the bye this upcoming week. So that's the spoiler alert right there for that. What we can say is the fact that the BC Lions need Vernon Adams. And if he comes back, yes, they need him bad. And we'll have to get more update on what's going on with him, as I will say that the one thing I did slack on during my research over the weekend was I did mean to, and I didn't follow through finding out the total situation for that. So that is on me, because that was a goal of mine. But hey, we're human out here. We can make mistakes. Things happen. But when it comes to that, there's many more we have to talk about. And let's go ahead and take it into our game of the week. And here with the game of the week, we have two teams that ended a game in a tie. Now, the way the production was in this game, some would say Drew Howes is the game of the week. Well, when you think about the fact that our previous three games that we talked about, the teams that won in double digits. Okay. So when you have double-digit victories, it's hard to put that as the game of the week, unless both teams were lighting it up for the majority of the game. And in the fourth quarter, there was a little bit of a drop-off by one of those two teams. Now, when I put that in perspective and I think about this situation right here, you got two teams that were, the Redblacks and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who are both pretty respectable teams this year. They've been playing pretty decent overall. They've got above 500 records, and they showed that in this game right here. As on Thursday, it was the first game of the week. Backup quarterbacks are facing each other. Both teams are led by backup quarterbacks. It's Dustin Crum, 211 passing yards and an interception on the day. However, he has 9 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown on the ground that kind of balanced it out a little bit for him. It didn't cost them the game here. Dominique Rhymes, 5 receptions, 72 yards. Jalen Ackland, 7 receptions, 54 yards. Now, I'm not really going to talk too much about what their running back core did because they were absolutely terrible. And Dustin Crum, the backup quarterback, actually led the team in production on the ground. So that's the reason why on your side there, Cole, you're not seeing anything because they were absolutely terrible. And that's probably what cost them from getting a win instead of this tie. The Redblacks defense was what kept them in this game, was the fact that they had 1 sack. That's dismal, but they had 3 interceptions, one by Elijah McGee, the other by Alonzo Adai, and then the last one by Jovan Santos Knox, who sounds like he should be the chip guy at your local restaurant. Shea Patterson, backup quarterback for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, puts up 299 passing yards, as well as 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions on the day. You also got to look at the fact that he had 1 carry for 1 yard. I mean, it wasn't much production, but he did do something. Did more than I did. I didn't have a carry for a yard in the game, so I'm trying to give him a little bit credit where it's due. The backup running back as well, as this was a weekend for the backups and for not only just the quarterback, but the second consecutive week, their backup running back was out there, and he absolutely played like a dumpster pelican. And he played like such dumpster pelican that I'm going to put it up right here, and we're going to rank him as the 3rd worst dumpster pelican of the week, the one with the 3rd longest beak on the back corner. Let's bring it up again. Look at that dumpster pelican right behind the tallest one. That is him, okay? That running back was him. Now, not him as the man who did his job. Him as far as the 3rd-ranked dumpster pelican of the week because he had 12 carries for 23 yards and 1 reception for a whopping -1 yards. The receivers was what helped kept this team in this game because they had 8 receptions, 101 yards by Dante Myers, and Sean Bain, 8 receptions for 90 yards and a touchdown. Roughriders defense, 5 sacks on the day, as well as an interception by Roland Milligan, his 2nd consecutive week with an interception as well. Looking at this game and how it broke down, besides the fact that both these teams played like Tim Tebow for 3 quarters and then leveled up in the 4th quarter to give them somewhat of success. What did you see in this game, my man?
Well, I think I see a team, I see 2 teams, I should say, that I think they want to establish similar identities, but but they go about it in a different way. So with the Roughriders, they've been dealing with having to roll with their backup QB for really the balance of the year thus far, and he can put up good numbers. He just can't play flawless football. And turn the ball over 3 times. That doesn't help your team, doesn't bode well for your squad, and of course, you'll get sour feelings with the squad if you keep turning the ball over the way that Shea Patterson has, and definitely the way he did in this particular game. I know the Roughriders want to lead with defense and have the running game be a supplement to it. And look, their defense, 5 sacks. I mean, when the defense plays downhill, they are an absolute joy to watch. Unfortunately, though, they couldn't come up with the big key stop, but that was aided by the fact that, unfortunately, their QB kept turning the ball over. Now, for the Redblacks, it's sort of like the opposite. They want to establish the run, I think, and then behind it, they want to have solid defensive play. And, well, they couldn't establish any run. Although you could say, well, hey, you had the QB. He ran for almost 75 yards. You'll be hearing me say this when we talk about the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. It's awesome to see an athlete be behind center and show that he can run and show that he can carry the ball. And that's all great and that's all wonderful. But when one of those runs ends with a defender making them pay the price for actually taking off and running, then come back to me and then say to me, yeah, that's great that the QB actually can be the leading rusher for your team. That's not, I don't think, how they should establish the run, but, well, they got to do something. In the end, yeah, three bad quarters and, well, 2 good quarters that followed. All I got to say to that is, I think we'll be seeing these two teams probably face each other again, and I'm not talking about regular season. I'm talking about in the playoffs, because I really do think we're going to see them down the road battle each other, and they'll be doing the sudden death style because I think their styles are similar. They don't blow you away offensively, but they basically want to will you down. They want to make sure that you don't have the energy to go forth and push forth and continue. If done right, one of those outfits will rise to the occasion. Unfortunately, no one actually came up big. They all were neutralized to a degree, and they rose to the occasion at other times. But yeah, it's unfortunate that these two teams tied. And in terms of philosophy, I probably like these two teams in the CFL more than any other. But it's unfortunate they have a tie because this might come back to bite the both of them.
You're absolutely right. I was thinking the same thing because, I mean, it's games like these that when you get to the last week or two of the season, when the playoffs really start to we really start to get a clear picture of who's in or who's going to be, this close to being out, pardon the pun. I mean, I know I do have a show that's in or out, but it's nothing to do with this part. When it comes to this, I hope it doesn't bite the Roughriders because I've been, talking highly of them all year long, and I don't want it to come back to bite them. When you think about the Lions too, we talked highly of them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And now, here we are with the Redblacks, and we've been talking highly about them. They had just come off of a bye week. They were rested. Okay. The Redblacks should have been the one who had the most production in this game. When you think about the fact the Saskatchewan Roughriders have only had one bye and the Redblacks have now had 2. So putting it all in perspective, we'll have to see how things pan out for these teams moving forward. Before we do go forward, we have a couple questions. Well, actually one for me. Says, Question for Drew. What? What do you mean, what? Do you want me to bring this up for that? What? Because that's what I feel like when I see this is just clicking the button. What? You said what? What? I'm saying what? What? The shenanigans begin because you like that. You like that. Because when you say question for Drew, what? We might as well click this button.
This has been yet another Beating a Dead Horse presentation. My goodness.
And
I knew that was coming.
If anybody is going to get sensitive today, then you might want to mute this before I say what I'm about to say in response to this one. Question for Drew. How much stock do you put into preseason? Well, question for Playmaker. Where in the past 45 minutes have we discussed the preseason? Are you even listening? Because when I comment on your show, because when it comes to our brothers in broadcasting, because this comment, and I don't put the comments in our radio broadcasts. So what I'm going to say here, and being very real as I always am, I do my best to support my brothers out here and comment and watch, even if it's after it's live. But not everybody else does the same. So hopefully you're paying attention because Hey,
who's giving them the business?
Just gave you the business, and I need you to tighten up. because we haven't talked about preseason yet. But we can get back to this question once we actually are talking about preseason. Now, back to the regularly scheduled program, as we have to get to one of my favorite parts of the week, but it doesn't happen until after our first commercial break. When we come back from our first commercial break, we have the Gridiron Scoop, we have the Snowflake of the Week, we have the Grand Champ of the Week, and we have the featured attractions. All that and more after our first commercial break.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989. On two. Ready? Hey!
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this. Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy and now begins a future one of matrimony or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast, every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk. We are live right now for episode 50, as we're here to talk about the new NFL Kickoff rule results in Chiefs losing preseason opener. I am your co-host, Drew Willingham, along with the EP of all EP, my man, Cole Johnson. We are back.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are.
So
Great to have you on.
Absolutely, and especially those of you out there from the TFT tribe. We'll get to your comments here shortly, but before we do that, we have to get to one of my favorite segments as well. And I say that for every segment, but that's how I feel because I love this show. But when it comes to this, got to get to the Gridiron Scoop. And here's one of my topics that I put in here about one of our boys from the Brothers in Broadcasting. I have to talk about Kyle Nash. As Kyle Nash and many others are upset that Florida does not have a UFL team anymore. Should the architect of the Bing start a petition and lead a movement towards bringing professional football back to Orlando?
Goodness gracious. Mm.
You should know your role and shut your mouth.
Oh yeah?
Well, I mean, that's exactly what he would tell you. I mean, that same figure, the man who now calls himself the final boss, would probably say to our beloved Kyle Nash, he should know his role and shut his mouth. I mean, how profitable is it going? How forward do you think the action will get with the league that they've been trying to swim uphill the last couple of years? And they've been swimming uphill first as the XFL for 1 year, and then this past year as the UFL for 1 year. So they can't even think about expansion right now. They have to think about survival, and they have to build, and they have to subsist. So once that is in place, obviously they're going to have football in Florida. I mean, Rock considers himself a Floridian, and Danny definitely considers herself a Floridian. I think she is actually from Miami. So I'm sure that Florida will receive football again, UFL style. It's just that I think they had to concentrate their efforts a little more, I guess, toward the markets that probably were a little more profitable for them. I am surprised none of them were in Florida, but that's just how it rolls. I figured there was going to be in St. Louis. I figured it was going to be in San Antonio. From there, it was a crapshoot for me, and I was surprised they decided to stick 3 teams in Texas and none in Florida. But I don't think. Well, yeah, they could be upset, yes, but if they're going to sign a petition, I don't know if it's going to get far, because I think they're still losing money. So let's have them break even, and then let's have them profit, and then we could talk about expansion.
Well, the reason why I worded the question the way it was it wasn't necessarily to talk about expansion, but you did bring up one of my points, was the fact that, and this is what Kyle argues, and he's argued it several times on the in or out sports debate from my people out there who watch and are supportive of me and Sertoba Media. Kyle and I have talked about this many a times. And we've talked about the fact that it's very stupid that there's 3 teams in Texas. Yet you think about how much Florida loves football, from the beloved Florida Gators to when you think about Florida State and Seminoles, and you think about the other teams that are in the NFL, and you think about the other teams throughout other, like the AFL, like in other indoor leagues and other versions of professional football. Those of you watching right now, Sertoba Media, who are loyal to me and loyal to my product, or know exactly where I'm going with this, because you've been paying attention to me for years, not just there, but in other platforms. And you know exactly where I'm coming from and how I am going to defend Kyle here when it comes to, it makes absolutely no sense that you have 3 teams in Texas. And yes, the Orlando Guardians played subpar in the time that they were in the XFL, but they didn't absolutely suck like the San Antonio Brahmas did during their time in the XFL. Now, I will at least give them credit because they turned things around in their 1 year in the UFL and made it all the way to the championship game. But you got 2 other teams that, with the flip of the coin, you could say don't deserve to be in the UFL. And that's my point. So, those of you out there in the chat, those of you watching this live, and those of you who are loyal enough to watch it when it's not live, because it doesn't fit within your schedule when it's live, but you are loyal enough to the brand and to me to watch what we're doing out here because you're entertained by it. You know exactly where we're coming from. Drop a comment in here, whether it's live or it's not live, and continue to be supportive out here in these streams. Now, when we get back to the gridiron scoop, let's look at the Guardian caps have arrived, and Jonathan Taylor is among few wearing them. Do you believe he will motivate others to follow suit.
Oh my gosh. Inside joke. Do I believe what you have to go Michael Jackson with this? Oh,
Is it a bad
Lord.
impression?
No, that was good, but it was just funny. No, I don't think so. I think you may have like the new guard start to wear them, and I think you probably see some who wear them in the regular season, but I think you've hung around the sport long enough. I've played in it. There is a bit of a machismo feel to it. You know, if you were to come out with the guardian cap, and on the field, you would sort of would be considered soft. Although I think it would be wise, personally, considering that you have to protect your head, and this supposedly is the next level. That if you're going to be on the field, and you'll have an extra protection with your helmet, so you have the you have the guardian cap over it. That might aid and that might help, but I'm not quite sure that it's going to catch on this year. You'll see some. You'll see some wear it, but we've seen it now in preseason. I don't think I have seen too many on the field wear it. So I don't know if it's catching on yet. It probably will as time goes on, but no, I don't think they'll follow suit right away.
That's a good call. I was thinking the same thing. I do think it's wise for people who take the biggest impacts. People like
Mhm.
the running backs,
Yeah.
wide receivers who take probably the most defenseless shots because, of course, they're gearing up to receive the ball like a wide receiver,
Mhm.
or the running back just running full speed. I mean, we don't have anybody running with full force like Bo Jackson did when, Brian Bosworth tried to stop him on the goal line. Okay. Like, hey, everybody back then, I was in Huggies. Okay. I don't remember it, but the highlights that I've seen over the years, I still, to this day, there's been others who've come close. You think about, young LaDainian Tomlinson, Adrian Peterson, still not running with the force of Bo Jackson. Okay.
Mm.
If you're running with that kind of force and that speed and you're that strong, you need some extra protection on your helmet. If you've got somebody on the other side who's as physical as like Nick Bosa with the speed coming at you, you kind of need that protection. I'm not going to say that it makes them more pacified, or anything. That's a nice
Not
way I
really.
could put it. I think that, based on the way the rules are in today's game, you have less there's less likely for you to sustain as big impact injuries as you would have had 30 years ago. Doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, because mistakes happen. Somebody will get flagged, but just because somebody gets flagged or suspended for a game doesn't take away the fact that that hit still happened.
Right.
So if you're the running back, Jonathan Taylor, or others who've had histories of head injuries, or you want to prevent the case from actually happening at all, I myself am not going to put you, on a list of being pacified, or I could say other things, but being pacified, because the game already is enough.
Mhm.
However, if Yo King wore a helmet like this in his game, then we would have jokes for days on him. But luckily, this is for Total Football Talk. I think certain positions should wear it, and I will say like running
Mhm.
back, wide receiver, the tight end. There's not enough full force, fast contact on the offensive line anymore, or defense, that I would really justify that. but your defenseless players at certain points within the game, I think, should be wearing this. And I think over time, it's going to get mandated. Like it's going to be, at that point, they're all going to have to wear it. So either some of you start doing the right thing now, or in the case where, the one person ruins it for everybody, that could be a similar comparison to here. If certain people at other positions that really take these types of impacts don't follow suit. So good on Jonathan Taylor. I wouldn't for starting a trend because there's a few others doing it, but being one of the more notable names who's actually going through with it to save his own health and not caring what people think about what you look like, because it's not about what people, and that's the thing that I like about Jonathan Taylor. He doesn't care what other people think, because results are actually what you should care about. And that right there, my friends, is the most important message to that whole thing right there. Jonathan Taylor, take one for the team and set the tone right here. And that's what I'm going to say about that. And now, Cole Johnson, it is time.
Total football talk.
Where my dogs at? And now, with his choice for the dog of the week, his grand champ of the week, I take you to Cow.
Well, I mean, I could pick someone from the CFL. I'm not going to this week. I'm actually going to go in NFL, and you all might claim Homer, but it's not for what you would believe. This one's going to Tank Dell, wide receiver for the Texans, and the reason why I'm giving him the dog of the week or the Grand Champ Award is back in December he messed up his knee, and he was out for the rest of the year. And here he is on the field only 8 months later. And although I really don't care that he in a preseason game caught a touchdown pass from CJ Stroud. Yeah, it looked good and it was great to watch, but I was just happier with the fact that he was able to look really good on the field during some action only 8 months after the injury that curtailed his rookie season early. And the reason why I'm giving him this award is it's tough enough to play football throughout the season and you don't suffer in a season-ending injury. To do so and to rehabilitate to the point where you show that you're going to be back in shorter time than people prognosticate, I tip a whole lot of cap to you, because it takes a lot of work to do that. So yes, Mr. Dell, welcome back. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to be doing for the Texans in the upcoming season, and you look good in Pittsburgh.
Well said, my man. I like it. And we'll have to see how things pan out, because even though Playmaker asked me that question, I mean, I do get a little hype for the preseason just because NFL's here. But, I'm not going to throw away a whole player or their season, the team's season based on what the production is in the preseason. Okay. The only time that really happens is if like a major injury happens to like one of their stars that shouldn't have been putting, meaningful minutes anyway, or unmeaningful minutes. But now with my take, I am going to stick with the preseason on this. And for many weeks, for a couple months, I've been sticking with UFL and CFL as my primary selections for the dog of the week and for the snowflake of the week. But I'm very happy and honored to be able to talk about the NFL once again for my choice of the dog of the week. And this week I'm giving it to Bo Nix. You know, I almost was going to give it to Caleb Williams based on how he played. And there were several plays that he made in that game for the Bears where you saw how mobile he was for one, and moving out the pocket, slinging the rock, getting completions. Okay. But for the Broncos, there's so much shade has been thrown on them for a couple of years now with Nathaniel Hackett, with Russell Wilson, with bringing in Sean Payton, and then they still had a very dismal season last year. You still invest in a first-round quarterback this year, knowing that you are still on the hook for the next couple seasons for Russell Wilson's contract because it just activated this year, which is why the Pittsburgh Steelers got him for a veteran minimum so that the Broncos still have to pay him his money. All right. I'm giving this to Bo Nix, and the reason why, you look at his game, right? I'm not getting excited about the fact that he was 15 to 21 for 125 yards and a touchdown. The reason I'm excited about him and giving it to him for this dog of the week is because of the way he commanded the game at his position as a rookie. Okay, that's one. When you think about all of the shade around that team, the coach, the decisions that have been made for multiple years, there's been many rookies, whether quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, who have been brought into similar situations where the team has been an absolute abysmal sight for sore eyes. Okay. There's been something that's been tough to watch. And he came in this game. Now, let alone when you think about the fact they played the Indianapolis Colts, who may be taking a step back this year. But again, it's preseason. We can't get so excited. But if what I saw from Bo Nix, his style of leadership, what he brought to this game is a reflection of what we could potentially see in 2024. If you're a fan of the Broncos, you got to be excited. Okay. Still have some salary cap issues to deal with when it comes to Russell Wilson and some other moves they made over the past couple of years, affecting them for the next 2 to 3 years. Okay. It's just, it is what it is. But if you got a talent in Bo Nix here that can be your quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years, and you keep him upright and you don't let him get hurt, there is a potential future in this team for turning it around at some point. This could be the beginning of a legitimate 5-year plan coming into fruition. Not saying the end of that 5-year plan is a Super Bowl, but at least have a team that's consistently making the playoffs starting by the end of year 5 for the next 10 years after that, and continuing to build on a foundation that they need to build on and make something out of nothing. Because right now they don't have much except for a head coach that does have a Super Bowl, but he was led by one of that generation of football's great quarterbacks in Drew Brees, okay, who would have had more Super Bowls if he wasn't playing in the same era as Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. But Bo Nix, I'm not putting in that same category. What I'm saying is they don't have much to offer. And you have a quarterback who's a rookie coming in here, standing tall and making plays. And I'm giving him his praise now, because if he falls off the cliff next week and for the rest of the year, I'm not going to have the opportunity to put him on this type of pedestal. But based on what he did this past weekend in comparison to the other rookies around the league and the other players who were starters who didn't have much action, I have to give it to him. And I'm not going to be a homer and completely give it to the team that I pull for, because that would just be wrong when I already had them in our main topic for last week. So I felt like it was the right thing to do by going with Bo Nix this week.
What a novel concept. The Broncos actually bringing up a quarterback they draft. Yeah. That hasn't happened in a long time. Even Elway is not considered that because they didn't draft him.
Facts. Because they traded for him in the draft. He wasn't drafted to them, but
right.
Yeah, what was the quarterback of the 70s who had I can't remember his name, but I could see him playing right now that they had. Was it John Brody? Or was that another team?
I can't remember if John Brody played for the Broncos. But I know Craig Morton did.
Craig Morton's the name. Was he drafted by the Broncos? Because and I've got a feeling that he wasn't.
I think
I don't think he was.
Yeah, I think he was drafted by the Cowboys, so I'll check.
Yeah, he did. He was drafted by the Cowboys in
Yeah.
1965. Then went to the Giants for 2 seasons. Yeah, so that's very interesting. The Broncos have yet to draft a quarterback who've been successful. And the last one that I remember that had so much hype, besides Jay Cutler, was Brian Greasy. Being the successor to John Elway. So, yeah. Hopefully this starts a trend with Bo Nix because he's got a cool name. But at the same time, we'll have to see. Only time will tell. But after one preseason game, in the fact that I wanted to stick within the realm of the NFL for my pick, I felt like it was the best pick for this episode.
Good. So, and I'm a Bo Nix fan. I mean, he did well in Oregon. I want to see if he can have that translate to how it is going to be in the NFL, because with the Broncos, he's going to get his opportunity.
Absolutely. We'll have to see how things go out here. And let's go ahead and take it to the comments section real quick. And before we go to our last commercial break, and Vicola is here. Good afternoon to the TFT tribe and the masters behind Total Football Talk. Let's get on the gridiron and start the drive off right.
All right, Victor. Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
And it's always great to see you, Vicola. I second what Cole said, but I also have to add, this message was brought to you by one of my favorite buttons to click by the EP of all EPs, one of his most ingenious creations right there. And every time I have the opportunity to click that button, it just gives me this great feeling in my soul, and I love it. So thank you, Vicola, for dropping in and dropping dimes out here in these streams. As he also adds, first off, I bow to the big game hunter of dumpster pelicans worldwide, Sensei Drew Willingham, and the EP of all EP, Cole Jones.
Oh, man, he's hyped. All right. Well, again, thank you for coming on, Victor. Appreciate you, man.
It warrants another one to continue the hype. And for the first time in this episode, to all of you out there who are dropping dimes in the chat, I got to give you this as well.
What's that? What's that?
Shout out to all of you dropping the dimes in the comments, as well as Vicola out here. So, and Ike says, D. Willie doesn't play games. And I said, thanks, Ike, to him, because, no, we're dropping dimes out here in these streams. Dante also says, to be fair, this is talking about when we were talking about the Kyle Nash segment. To be fair, it's still early. Florida will get a few teams. The league needs to cook a little more. I really do believe 3 years from now, if everything goes well, they will have enough investors.
Yeah, I agree with Dante. I think that's what Danny and Dwayne was thinking about. I think they wanted to have the opportunity to bring forth new energy when the UFL is successful, where they will have I'm thinking they probably will target Tampa or Orlando. They'll probably target Miami, and to me, then it'll be between if they want to put one in the Panhandle or put one in Jacksonville, wherever they want to be. Because I'm thinking they probably will eventually put 3 teams in Florida too. I mean, I can't think of too many states that are football hotbeds like Florida. Texas is one of them, but Florida is also along that same on level too. So yeah, I agree with you, Dante, 100%.
Same here, Dante. That was definitely great what you dropped into the chat, and I hope that comes true. For people like Kyle, because he is holding this grudge that, you know, he needs to let go. It's not healthy. Okay.
No.
So, you know, Kyle, you know, I understand Danny Garcia told you she's an Orlandoian. Okay. And, you know, you had your heart set on covering this team in the UFL. Sometimes I got to make decisions that we all don't like. And I don't like it either. Okay. I would much rather see the Orlando Guardians than 3 teams in the UFL. And one of them played like absolute dumpster pelicans, and that being the Houston Roughnecks.
Houston.
Okay. Yes. Which you have a special hatred for teams, especially ones that leave. And you know, we've already established that plenty of times. You know, this team happened to change their name, okay, back to a name they had during their time in the USFL. All right. And it didn't work out. It bombed. Okay. Not as bad as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers started the season off for the CFL, but they bombed. So now when you look at the Orlando Guardians, were they, you know, had they played like another team who went to the XFL championship the year prior, okay, and then came to the UFL and then bombed, okay, they didn't play like that. They didn't completely bomb, but at the same time, they also, when you look at the Arlington Renegades and you think about how they were, that's where I was going with this. They didn't play like the Arlington Renegades. They would be in the UFL right now. The Arlington Renegades are 4-6. They still made the XFL championship. They proved to us this past year that they weren't relevant enough to be in this UFL league because of how they fell off and started the year. What were they, 0-6 when they started the year? So the Orlando Guardians would not have started out 0-6. That's why I agree with Kyle and how he feels with the fact that this team should be in the UFL. What happened was an injustice. I disagree with their decision, and I agree with you. That's why I'm fully supportive. If you want to start a petition, if you put it on the internet, I will e-sign it, and I don't even live in Florida. But I will do it to support you in your message of the fact that this team should still be a part of the UFL. Does that mean that we're going to get them back? Probably not, okay? But if you get enough signatures, you have a chance. Just like in that movie. Still have a chance, and you still have a chance if you try, because a closed mouth doesn't get fed. And sometimes when people make mistakes, you gotta hold them accountable and tell them what's up. All right, and that's what I'm encouraging you to do right here and now. And as always, if you're watching this on Comey Media or on Surtoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome, and you are new to the channel, do me a favor, do Cole a favor. Click that like button, click that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and help us out here in these streams. And I know I said out here twice, but it was to make sure that the emphasis was true, that you understood. Help us out here in these streams. Click that like button, that subscribe button. Help us continue to grow and reach our goals. Now, when you think about that, Sick Dicky drops in. What's good at Victor Lock? And you guys are going to give me another excuse to click that button if you keep it up. What's happening at Darnell Playmaker Silence? He says, and then he says, it's never easy to bounce back from a serious injury. Some players are never the same.
That's true. That's true. I mean, Robert Griffin III is a prime example of that. So, yeah.
Pulling on my heartstrings, Cole. You are pulling on my heartstrings. And if that
I hate to see it too, man. I hated to see that too.
And for him, because he's a good dude. I mean, had that never happened, we never would have got this.
You like that? You like that?
But
that's correct.
As much as I liked it when he said you liked it, well, you like that? Kirk Cousins still, in his time with Washington and his time with Minnesota, and predictably what we're going to see in Atlanta, never gave me the type of rush and feeling that I had during that rookie season that RG3 had. Like we've seen flashes here with some games here and there, but consistently throughout that season, even when they lost, I was still 100% locked into those games. And I loved what I was watching. I'm still locked into watching them now and covering them, but I'm not having as much enjoyment with watching them because for the last 10 years, they've continuously and consistently play terrible. So I know where you're coming from, Sick, and with Cole, you as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Look, I miss IG3. I mean, I got a chance to watch him at Baylor before he became Washington's quarterback. I was so happy to see him actually get a shot, and then at the end of his rookie season, getting hit by a Haloti 90 in the knee. I was like, oh man, yeah. And I felt for every Washington fan. I felt for you and everybody who rooted for them, because I was like, oh man, their future might be shot because of that. Oh, I hated that. I hate it now. 12 years later. Ugh, man.
Well, we'll see if Jaden Daniels can exceed what the foundation for a rookie quarterback was set when RG3 played, because the records, his production, I'm talking about everything up until the injury. There's still records and an aura about how he played that is still left on that franchise. Based on how Jaden Daniels looked in that first preseason game, he looked pretty good, but it's still too early for me to say anything of outside of that.
Agreed.
I feel like he's potentially going to be better than that, because I haven't seen enough. So we'll have to see how it was. And that goes back, even though I was, poking a little fun at my man Playmaker when it comes to not that one, but this one, when it comes to the answering your question to the fullest ability here, I put stock into the preseason for the rookies, because it gives me my first real look at how they're going to play in an NFL system. When it comes to the vets, I don't put as much into it, because, I mean, they're not giving us 100% as much as they want to say they are. I mean, it's very obvious that there's certain plays they're lacking up on, because you see a huge difference in production from players, not just because of their playing time getting increased when they play week 1 through week 17. Well, week 18 now, because there's 17 games. But when you think about the type of production they put forth throughout the season, in the preseason is dramatically different, unless it's a player that was just drafted and they played well in the preseason to give them the chance of starting in the regular season, which we see that stuff happen all the time. I get invested in the rookies playing, because the ones who usually play to that level that I just spoke of, we see play in the regular season. So I get invested in those rookies, because if their production or lack thereof, and how it determines their fate for their first year. So I will at least answer that when it comes to that question.
Oh, agreed. I mean, I think that's that's one of the 2 reasons why you should watch the preseason. Which rookies are showing the ability to actually show glimpses, because we really don't technically know until the regular season begins, because you and I have seen so many preseason games. Coaches are, if they're putting forth 50% of their playbook, I'd be shocked in the preseason. So obviously it's a lot of vanilla stuff, but still the NFL, even the preseason, is still a level above college football. So you get a chance to see if a rookie can establish himself early, and then you get the hungry free agents, the ones who they've been on practice squads or the UFL or the CFL, and they'll get their shot finally with a set of OTAs and training camp, and in the preseason they want to show that they belong on an NFL field. Those are the really 2 reasons to me that I believe you should watch the preseason.
Absolutely. We're on the same page with that. And we'll acknowledge our last comment before we go to our last commercial break. And that is, RG3 was in my lifetime, was the only player I was nervous about coming to the division out of college, and was terrified of during his rookie season pre-injury. Yes.
Yeah.
And no, go ahead. My bad.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, you had a guy who ran a sub 4.5 40, and he had an arm. The only thing he needed to learn how to do was, to get down and slide, obviously, and accuracy. And it looked like he was starting to learn how to get accurate in the NFL when his injury happened. And as an Eagles fan, Dante, I'm not an Eagles fan, but I know you are. I felt for you, Cowboys fan and Giants fan, because the way RG3 was rolling in 2012, it looked like that Washington was going to be the team of that decade. It looked that good. It looked that strong.
And it was such a disappointment when those thoughts that you just spoke of back then, what Dante was feeling and what I was thinking, didn't come into fruition. So, and Dante and I, the first time I ever met him, when I mounted a TV in his house, back when I worked for Geek Squad, that we talked about that. And, in our conversation from then was we got him hyped and got him to become a loyal Sartoba median out here, one of our fans out here, now part of the TFT drive for our joint production right here. So thank you, Dante, for tuning in and being here for us and dropping dimes like that in the chat. We greatly appreciate it. It gives us additional layers of content to discuss out here on the show. And speaking of that, we do have to take one last commercial break before we get to our last half of the show. When we come back, we still have the featured attractions. We still have the snowflake of the week and the 2-minute drill. We'll see you guys here after the last commercial break.
Coming up next, the featured attractions. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated. Creating content magic in the real world.
In a world where chronicles of the past are brought to the streams, whether the content is relatable or completely beyond your realm of life, there is no shadow of a doubt that this show is absolutely full of shenanigans. Get ready for
D. Willie in the evening.
This Sunday at 10:05 p.m. Eastern.
Exclusively on Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign D Willie 87. Go ahead, hit him up on the Cash App and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. You want your commanders to be repped right? Well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Tuesday at 11:05 a.m. Eastern, 10:05 a.m. Central. On the Sartoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool.
Where my soldiers right there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for episode 50 of Total Football Talk. We are live right now. We're just going to discuss the new NFL Kickoff rule results in Chiefs losing preseason opener. And as you saw during the commercial break, you saw the Commander's Gridiron Report. It'll be on tomorrow at a very special time, returning to weekly episodes tomorrow at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time. But here within the next couple weeks, it will go back to its original time, as Cole announced in that commercial. But before we get started, I have some breaking news that I want to share with the TFT tribe. Oh, yeah! You gotta love it!
Oh, no.
When you fight for the right of good things. I just got a message during the commercial break. It literally popped up, and I stepped up and walked away and jumped in the air in excitement. Okay.
Oh, wow.
There's a reason why you use music that is not copyrighted, that you have a license to, or you have permission by the artist to use it. Because in a case where you go and dispute it, I've never won one, but I won one today. And it's because for the Commander's Gridiron Report,
Right.
I have the permission to use it. I talked to the guy. His name is Jay Cool, which you know from putting the commercial together on a regular basis through Instagram. We have connected, and that's how I found the song and made it into the intro. That's how you made that awesome commercial. And with us being on the show together and getting that message pop up literally right during the commercial break, I felt like it was the best time to tell you that moving forward, as Sartoba Media is monetized, and we're starting to make a few bucks here and there now. It's now a revenue shared show. So every time somebody watches the Commander's Gridiron Report, the revenue gets shared between the two of us. So that's how you work together out here in these streams. That's how Total Football Talk can be at some point when we get our music and stuff and things for commercial honed together. But we'll talk about that more later. Right now, we're here for Total Football Talk, and because it's a football-related discussion, I wanted to share that with you guys. And it wouldn't be possible for those who are loyal and watch the content on a regular basis and support me, support Cole, who works with me, Kyle, and the new person who's about to start here in the upcoming weeks. So things are brewing. You stay strong and not let things affect you and beat you down, and you keep working and staying tough towards your ultimate goals. Whether you have to be a certain way or not, the good things come to those of us who are true and continue to remain passionate about what we do out here in these streams. Now, with that being said, let's take it to the featured attractions. I alluded to this when we first came back from the commercial break, when we started the show, and that is when it comes to the new NFL kickoff rule and the results in the Chiefs losing the preseason opener. Do you believe this will be the decisive factor in the league tweaking the rule there, Cole?
Not yet, but if this continues to happen, it will be. Obviously, when things are new, you want to iron out all the kinks, and obviously, I believe the refs and the teams have probably been told by the NFL that they're going to use the preseason to iron out said kinks. And of course, then we'll be rolling live in 3.5 weeks. So patience will definitely have to be a virtue here. Obviously, referees don't really have a handle on it as much. Same thing with the players. It's new, but credit to all of them. I mean, you could have more of these incidents, but I personally think there's other things that will tweak the rule, and we'll get a tweak. I don't think we'll get one this year. I think we'll probably get one in the offseason leading into next year.
As we discussed last week, and I'm fully with you on that. As much as I would like them to change it during the season, just because like the things that we talked about are now coming to fruition. Like we saw it with the reigning champion Chiefs blundering and having the issue that they had in this game, which gave the Jaguars a win on a safety. So looking at how things are now, it's not going to go well this season, I don't think, when it comes to the kickoffs. I mean, I get the reason why they wanted to do it. They want to get more activity, keep things more interesting within the kickoff realm, and make special teams more exciting than what it actually is. Okay. I get that, because we only get really excitement between offense and defense in this league. So there's been other innovations through the XFL in the past that the NFL has adopted, and then there's been innovations that the NFL has come up with as a combination of whether it's the XFL, CFL, or other leagues trying different things to incorporate it into the NFL to try to get, people a little more eager to watch these games. Well, the only difference with this is this continuance of this could cause people to turn off the game or cause attendance to drop because it's not what they thought it was going to be. So could that be potentially a case moving forward? We'll have to see. I'm not 100% sure at this moment. It's only been 1 week. All right. And, as much as we talked about it last week with our thoughts for if they would change it during the season or now after what we saw this week, if they could consider tweaking the rule or it will be a decisive factor. I'm with you on the fact that I don't think it's going to happen during the season. Based on what we talked about last week, what your thoughts were just now, and how I've been feeling about it. However, one of the first things that happens this offseason when they have the chance, this rule's getting changed because no matter if it doesn't happen anymore this season, the fact that it happened to the reigning champion Chiefs, who are back-to-back Super Bowl champions, and they looked like a team that was subpar to that when that play happened, yet they played pretty solid throughout the entirety of the game until that moment. And it was all based on the effect of the new kickoff rule. So I'm with you. But at the same time, I'm going to say they got to drop the hammer as soon as they get the chance this upcoming offseason because that's what they need when it comes to this rule. I don't see it getting any better or teams getting more acclimated with the adjustments they need to make with it. I just think they're going to continue to have miscues throughout this season with it.
Well, I definitely can't argue that point. In fact, I agree with you. I think we'll see more miscues, and I think we'll see more blunders. And I 100% agree with you too. The fact this blunder happened, and the reigning two-time defending world champs were the recipient of the safety being called against them. Yeah, I see a change happening, but it will probably come down the pike. March, early April, whenever they decide to have their competition committee meetings in the winter or early spring.
I'm with you on that too, and it's coming. It's like winter is coming, and it's coming for this rule.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
We're getting closer to our version of winter is coming with the snowflake of the week when we pass through this upcoming topic. And this topic that we have here for our final one for the featured attractions is looking ahead to the 2024 NFL season and thinking of the rookies who debuted last week. Who are your top 3 that will make an impact during year 1?
Okay, top 3 rookies that'll make an impact. If I really wanted to get the Cowboys goat, I'd say Stetson Bennett, but I won't. For those who don't know, he led them to a come from behind victory with like 4 seconds to go in their game at SoFi this past weekend. But no,
and he still threw 4 interceptions too.
Yeah, he threw 4 picks in the game as well.
And he still won the game. It's bad.
He still won the game for him. That is bad. Let me see. Unfortunately, I do have to say Caleb Williams was still have an impact on the league this year. Hopefully it'll be good rather than bad, but obviously the scope is going to be on him. You know this. I see that he's going to be a difference maker, whether he throws for 4,000 yards this season or he stinks up the joint like unfortunately others in their rookie seasons have. But I think he's one of them that's going to be a difference maker. I'm trying to think of others that off the top of my brain will be. The last one I'll make you smile. But let me see. I want to think of one on defense that could actually make a difference. That's one. But yeah, Caleb Williams for sure. I think it's going to make a difference, negative or positive. because he's been so ballyhooed and talked about all winter and all spring long. Yeah, focus will be on the Bears in a way that I think they would not like, but it's there. I'm trying to think of a good defensive pick that I think will make a difference. Let me see. What's a good one? No, not Latu. I don't think he'll make a difference. Dallas Turner, maybe. Jared First, the Rams are praying. Dang. Looks like I'm gonna have to. Looks like it has to be all offense, and I really don't want it to be, but it's going to have to be. All right, so I mentioned him. I would just for kicks and giggles say Michael Penix Jr., but but I'm not going to do that to him. Let me see. I probably will lean Brock Bowers. I think he will make a difference on the Raiders somehow. The way their offense has been structured, Darren Waller was their number one receiver as a tight end for years before they traded him away. I think Bowers in the same vein could probably have the same type of success. And the other person that I think will actually have a difference, and yes, I did leave a couple for you to just scoop up, but you might be upset with me in what I'm choosing. But I think Jaden Daniels will be that difference maker for the Commanders. I really believe that. I think he will. I think that he will show a lot of promise this year. Obviously, he will be tested because the Eagles defensively can just simply bring the house against them. The Giants defensively are still no joke, although maybe as a whole the team is not that great, but the defense is pretty good. And the Cowboys defense is very athletic. So he'll get tested in the division. But I think, seeing that he played in the SEC, I think he will have a lot of confidence going into these games and succeeding. So yeah, I'll say Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Brock Bowers.
And that's not a bad choice for either one of those, or for either one of those picks that you have. You guys, with Houston, there's nobody, in my opinion, that you've drafted that is going to supersede those guys that you just mentioned. Okay, between Brock Bowers, between Jaden Daniels, between Caleb Williams. All right. And I like Caleb Williams and I like Jaden Daniels as well. Like I'm not going to sit here and say that, even Brock Bowers, like all those three picks were great. And it makes me feel good, kind of like how I was praising your team when we first started this show for your rookie then, and that being, your quarterback. You look at, what he's done. Stroud is definitely going to have a good year this year. But I have a feeling that it's going to be either one of Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams, and it's too close to call for me now. I have a feeling one of those two quarterbacks is going to light it up even better than what Stroud did last year. Now, that doesn't mean that the team's going to have complete success like the Houston Texans did, because we've seen it on several occasions where you have one rookie that completely balls out, but the rest of the team hurts the overall production, and they still can't, win. Okay.
Cam Newton in 2011 is a prime example.
Exactly. And you went right where I was going with it. So, but I got a feeling one of those two is going to ball out a little bit better than Stroud, but Stroud in the past two drafts is still going to be the one that has more overall success with his team and as a leader than what these two could. And I hope I'm wrong when it comes to Jaden Daniels and Washington, when it comes to what I just said. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I just think it's going to take him a little bit more time to get fully acclimated with the team, as the team still needs a little bit more time to completely evolve and progress from where they once were. So
I agree with that. Yeah.
as much as I love your choices, before I give mine, I wanted to lay that out because I got 3 picks as well, and they're all 3 going to be different than who you chose. One of these players we didn't even see this past week. They didn't play, and many people who are fans of this team were actually upset that they didn't get to see him play. And that person is wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. For the Harrison Cardinals.
That's who I purposely left out for you to pick.
Thank you. So because I just have a feeling, is he going to be as great as his father was? It's only time will tell.
Yeah.
But I do think he is going to make an immediate impact for Kyler Duty, the man that we like to give his name of because he likes to play a lot of Call of Duty. All right. But I think that he is like the missing piece that they need to be a leader for their wide receiver core, to add other pieces in the next year or two to continue to evolve to where they have a 1A, a 1B, and a 1C. You got to, it's hard to do that now, especially with the way salary caps are. But I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to do something special over there in Arizona. That's my first rookie. My next one is one that was drafted in the 4th round. You didn't even see this coming because that's what I like to do. I like to throw curveballs as a former baseball player, okay, to get you to think about what your next move is going to be. And that right here is the running back that was drafted by the Miami Dolphins, Jalen Wright. 4th round pick, but you got to look at what he did in this past game. And the reason why I'm getting hyped about what he did in this past game is there's not many people in the 4th round. You come in preseason, have 10 carries, had 55 yards and a touchdown. But how many teams are putting a 4th round pick in that kind of spotlight where he has that many touches? They believe in this kid. So if they're going to believe in this kid and they have the production that they had, and even though it's only preseason and it's a preseason win, you have to get excited about that if you're a fan of football. If you're a fan of establishing the run, you former offensive lineman, me as well, but I played both sides between that and defense. So, but you consistently offensive line.
Right.
Thinking about that, you have to get excited because that means that if your offensive line does their job, you got a young running back who's only 21 years old. You're going to have for at least a good 5 years. You keep him upright. You help him continue to elevate. He could be the next steal of this draft. Okay. Now, I know I'm getting pretty high on him right now with what I'm saying, but based on the tape of what you see, I didn't watch the game live, I'll admit, because NFL, it's a little tougher to watch all the games live. They're playing at way different times, and my work schedule this past week was absolutely ridiculous. I didn't get to watch every game, but I saw highlights to every game. In this game in particular, this kid stood out to me. No matter who you would have said for your top 3, this kid was going to be in my top 3 because of what I saw and the production out of him from this past week. The third one is very, very tough, and it was very, very tough for me to come up with this one. But I think I need to stick with my dog of the week. I think I need to stick with Bo Nix on this one. And if I catch daggers for this later from people, it won't be the first time that I've said something and somebody's come back to me saying you should have picked somebody else. You should have gone a different direction. You should have thought about someone else beforehand. Well, that's the beauty of this. Is my opinion, not yours. This is our show. So when it comes to my choice, I can say what I want. And what I'm saying here is Bo Nix.
That's correct.
What? Thank you. And I think because of his leadership and what he brought in that one game, we saw more production out of him than what we saw in a 2-year span with Russell Wilson. We saw more production out of him in this game alone, and I hope it's consistent. That's going to be what we'll have to judge about. But we saw more out of him than what we saw out of Drew Lock when he came in after the Peyton Manning era. So in my choice, I'm going with Bo Nix. I'm going with Marvin Harrison Jr. And then in the other case, I'm going with Jalen Wright as my wild card to round out my top 3.
Your Jalen Wright pick, I'm loving, because this is a team that they want to push the ball down the field, but you have a guy in McDaniels who really wants to stress the run too, and what a better way to do that than to actually have someone. And of course, he came up under the Kyle Shanahan tree, where he, just like his father, will find diamonds in the rough and running backs in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds, if not free agency. So it looks like McDaniels is picking up from those learning processes, and he's operating in that way. Yeah, I love all 3 of yours too. And I knew Marvin Harrison Jr. had to be selected, and he definitely is going to be someone that we focus on, obviously. And Bo Nix, I do want to see if a rookie QB in Denver can flourish, and if so, then we probably can actually say, I guess, Sean Payton can be a quarterback whisperer. Otherwise, he basically is a Drew Brees hanger-oner.
Riding those coattails. Absolutely possible. And we both had some great choices. We're both loving each other's picks, and I look forward to seeing how this goes. But before we go to our next segment, we have to acknowledge a few comments here. And Dante says, I don't know. Do you really think the NFL wants the Chiefs to three-peat? I don't think so. I think they want Baltimore or San Fran.
If they had the choice of picking a team to win, yes, I agree with you, Dante. But think long and hard. Is there a team out there that really looks imposing enough to unseat the Chiefs on the field? And I'm not talking about referees or any type of breaks that go their way or doesn't go the opposite team's way. Is there a squad that actually lines up man to man where you'd say, wow, I think they have a shot to beat the Chiefs? I can't think of one right now. I could think of a few that could probably on their best day beat them, but I can't think of a team where I'm saying, yeah, no matter how many times they line up, the Chiefs are going to get their butts whooped. There isn't a team. Not right now.
Well, I'll at least say that if they can make it, well, I wouldn't say if they can make him, but if he can turn back the hands of time to like 6-7 years ago and be the great addition from the acquisition that they made this offseason, that being Derrick Henry, Baltimore will be the team that dethrones them in the playoffs, at some point, whether it's in the divisional round or in the AFC championship game, depending on how seeding goes and how the road to that works out. If they go head to head, Derrick Henry stays healthy all year, and he can turn back the hands of time, even if it's only for one season, because he's only 30. Okay.
Yeah.
He's getting to the point of no return that once he's set in that way, there's no going back. But we've seen running backs, LaDainian Tomlinson being one of them, when he went to New York. They got a couple good years out of him. If Derrick Henry can do something very similar to what LT did, because the missing piece in Baltimore, one of their biggest missing pieces, has been a running back that can establish the run to keep the quarterback from doing it. And if Lamar Jackson, and if Lamar Jackson can take a step back from that and just be a quarterback and run when he has to, not because he wants to, then we're going to see a completely different team that we've been wanting to see out of Baltimore for several years. So that's the only team that I will disagree with you on, to say that it wouldn't take their best day to do it, but they need to establish what I said week 1 and keep it going all year long consistently. Even when they lose, still be consistently great with those positions that I was talking about. And if you do that, you'll learn to win, and you will win, because their head coach has led that team to a Super Bowl championship before, and I think it's possible. So I'll agree with you on Baltimore, Dante, with everything I just said. However, I think San Francisco is going to take a step back this year. And it's not to take a jab at one person that we know that is really high on that team, or even Kyle Nash, who's a fan, but not a super fan like the other person that I mentioned. I think that Baltimore truly has a chance to do those things if they remain consistent and if Derrick Henry can play like the Derrick Henry we know he can play as.
The only thing I'll push back on with you on that, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'll slightly push back on you with it, is I want to have some other guy, and I know they're hyping Zay Flowers to be that guy, but somebody other than Mark Andrews has to be a pass catching threat that Lamar Jackson goes to. And yes, if Zay Flowers can actually be that, then and that clock gets turned back with Derrick Henry, I agree with you.
We shall see.
I mean, we shall see. I need to have a little more faith in Lamar Jackson. I'll put it that way.
Dante says when it comes to his three rookies, he's going Dallas Turner or Marvin Harrison Jr., and his last one is Nate Wiggins.
Dallas Turner, I heard some hype about him. I was thinking about picking him, but I was like, I'm not sure yet. But yeah, I actually agree with your picks. Those are solid too. All three of them are. But Dallas Turner, to me, the most solid of all of them that you chose.
Jumping on in to say what's up before Monarchs of Wrestling, our brother in broadcasting says, what's goody? Cole McCain is in the house. What's good there, brother? Glad to see you jump on in the comments section for us. Dante also says, it doesn't say Dante, always says Dante. What are we talking about? Says Cincinnati 3-1 and Baltimore.
I used to think the Bengals could actually unseat the Chiefs, but I think they regressed a bit. I like them, but when they met two years ago in the AFC Championship game, they match up well with each other. I just think they just took a step back. Otherwise, I would probably say the Bengals would be that team, and I would probably ride that train with the Ravens too. But again, I need to have I don't have that faith in Lamar Jackson. I want to be wrong when I say that, and yeah, I just think the Bengals regressed a little. But yeah, again, best day. If those teams played, the Bills are another example. If they play the best ball on their best day, they can beat the Chiefs if the Chiefs make mistakes. But I can't think of any of the other 31 teams that would make me say, yeah, line them up every single time the Chiefs will get beat.
Cool also says Baltimore's going to run like 4 backs too. So the chances of us getting to see that type of production from Derrick Henry might be affected based on that. However, if they do run the 4 backs like he's saying, then the light and load, we might see an increased production and less carries because he's getting more rest. True. And that's something similar to what I was talking about earlier with LT in New York when he left the Chargers and went to the Jets. So we're on the same page with that. As well as Dante says, when it comes to his picks for the teams at the end of the season representing the AFC, thinks it's going to be Houston and Miami. So that's good for you, Cole. That's good for your team. He thinks it's going to be Houston and Miami, and he thinks that Miami will knock them off. He thinks the Dolphins will knock them off if they play in Miami.
Now if they do, I think, yeah. I want to be I want to be rock solid in saying yes. I think the Texans will make that step and go to the AFC Championship game. I still think they have a couple of more lessons to learn until they get there. I'm not all the way sold with them yet to go that far. I do think they'll be the AFC South champs. I do think they'll probably even win a playoff game or two, but I'm not quite playoff game at least. But I'm not ready to put them in the AFC Championship game yet. Same with the Dolphins. I'm not ready to put them there yet either, because they can start off hot, but if they run into some cold weather, that offense will run just as cold as the weather in January. That's the only problem I have with the Dolphins. That's the only problem I have with them.
And reverting back to the Ravens, Cool agrees with you. He likes Zay Flowers. So if they can establish the running game with the 4 backs, like he was saying, that could possibly
Mhm.
happen. If they can get the production that I was talking about out of Derrick Henry, even if it is with less carries, and they get the production out of Zay Flowers that they need to as a young man who's recently acquired this team, I think that Baltimore could be a team that could be pretty scary facing
Yeah.
the Chiefs and could potentially knock the Chiefs off even on their best day. Because we saw flashes of the Chiefs, in their miscues last year, and even in their other year before that, before they started this back-to-back. It's going to be tough for them to three-peat when you have teams
Yeah.
on the rise like Baltimore and the other teams like Dante mentioned, like your team, Houston and Miami. And even Dante talks about Buffalo as the team I think is going to take a major step back. And he
I
says
agree.
he loves your guys' opinions.
I agree.
Buffalo, and I agree with that too. Even though I throw them in the same sense as the other teams we were talking about is on the rise. I mean, Josh Allen is no joke, but some of the moves the Bills organization is making around the team kind of is. So thinking about that, we'll have to see how that goes. But I'm 100% with you on Houston, Miami, as well as Baltimore.
I'll say this. Those teams, I think, are hungrier than the Chiefs. Because let's be honest, now the Chiefs are the Kings. They got to find a new way to have the hunger come back. And I think last year it was they actually retooled their offense on the fly. Now they have to do something different to throw a monkey wrench into what's the tendencies of this team now. Yeah, and considering what you're saying, you might be right from the standpoint of a team might get them. I just see too many yeah buts in all of those AFC contenders. I say yeah but in Houston, which is experience. I say yeah but in Miami, which is their offense will probably go south. I see a yeah but with Baltimore. I just think, unfortunately, they're the best candidate. But I just believe that, unfortunately, I just don't see Lamar Jackson taking the next step. And he has to take that next step. And that offense needs to be balanced just to save the defense. That offense needs to be balanced.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And our last comment before we go to our next section is I like Bateman as a number 2, but Houston has to be a challenge as well for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think they will. To me, starting next year, I think the Texans will be a hardcore challenger for the Chiefs. I do think, though, Houston this year, when they do play, and I think they play in KC this year, I think it will be one of those for the Texans. Let's see how we measure up against the King. And I think people will be surprised as to how well they do measure up against them. Now, I'm not going to say that they're going to go in Arrowhead and get a W, but I think people will be surprised as to how good of a fight they'll put up against them.
Yeah, I couldn't have said that any better myself. That was spot on, and I agree with you 1,000% on that. I don't know if we're going to agree on the next segment, but I'm looking forward to going to it now. That being the Snowflake of the Week. It's that time for the Snowflake of the Week, and starting it out is Kyle.
Well, we might not agree with Snowflake of the Week, but it doesn't matter. I will say this. Bears fan, you were happy when you got the guy, and everything seemed to be all gravy, and you were throwing a ticker tape parade for this guy, and you were angry that he didn't get a chance to start in his rookie season, and then about a fourth of the way through the rookie season, he got a chance to start, and you realized that not only was he not prepared, but he was standing behind 5 300-pound turnstiles. And he's still behind 5 300-pound turnstiles before you let him go. And now we see him perform beautifully in preseason. Yes, right. Mr. Justin Fields, you, sir, are my Snowflake of the Week, because here you are. You are a seasoned pro now, and you still can't get the center to quarterback exchange. How is that possible? How is it possible that you can botch not one, but two center to quarterback exchanges? Now I could say, well, yeah, this is your first game on the field with your new team. But you've been playing quarterback how long? And you're having the fundamental issue with getting the snap from the center? Now, problem. And yes, we already know that Russell Wilson is going to be the starter. We know that. But coming into the OTA portion of this offseason, people were saying that, well, the Steelers, they have a possible QB battle on their hands. Which one will they start? Well, it's not even a question. Come on, man. You got to get that situated. I mean, you can't have that many botches with the center to QB exchange. You can't do that, man. Not now. You're not a rookie. You're not in the second year. You're not even your third year. And God forbid if you get into the lineup and Wilson's hurt and the Steelers coaching tree has to say, well, forget getting on the center. Basically, you're going to have to take snaps from the shotgun position all the time. Well, that basically will take away from what the Steelers want to do offensively. So that means that you and your days might be as a Steeler, they may be numbered. And I'm not praying for it. I'm not cheering for it. It's just that it's appalling that you still have issues getting a snap from the cube, getting a snap from the center. Come on, man.
You know, I love your pick right there because we have heard so much hype on that being the closest QB battle of the offseason when it comes to there in Pittsburgh. It's the one you got to keep an eye on. Well, I'm going to go with another quarterback and one that we've seen throughout time bounce around between multiple leagues. Okay. One we just saw playing a championship game a couple of years ago before the league moved or merged with the USFL, that being the XFL he was part of, merging with the USFL to become the UFL. A man who was the quarterback of the Arlington Renegades the past couple of years, that is Luis Perez. Him was not being him in the game for the Chargers this past weekend because the man put up some dumpster Pelican numbers. You've been waiting 2 years for an opportunity to play in the NFL again, even if it is just to be a backup quarterback. You have an opportunity to play for somebody who led a team to a college national championship, a man who led the 49ers to a Super Bowl appearance, and it was a close, tough victory, but it was still a respectable appearance nonetheless. Jim Harbaugh is no slouch as a coach. He wasn't a slouch as a quarterback either. He has potential to be, the next since Ditka, to be a player to win a Super Bowl and then lead a team to a Super Bowl championship as a head coach. He almost did it 12 years ago, and now he has the opportunity to do it again. And Luis Perez could have been a good insurance policy for this team. I don't think he's going to make it through this through the preseason and still be on this team when they start the regular season. And the reason is this. You had an opportunity in this lone appearance that you had, and you went 5 of 12. You couldn't even get 50% completion, and you only had 61 yards. Okay. Now, the Chargers this year is not going to be a complete bounce back season to where Harbaugh is going to be able to do what he did in San Francisco and lead this team, let alone to the playoffs, but as far as to a Super Bowl appearance. It's not happening this year. They got to bring in more additions, more acquisitions. They got to get some subtractions out of there. They got to make some moves before we can seriously think about this team being at the caliber of what the 49ers were when Harbaugh left, okay, or at his highest peak with what he did there. I believe in him that he's going to lead this franchise back to that promised land and actually get over the hump and win a Super Bowl within the next 5 years. I think with Herbert, he can be the quarterback whisperer and get to that point. I have bought into that. I have drank the Kool-Aid for that. I am all in on that, okay? When it comes to Luis Perez, I have to give him the Snowflake of the Week this week because you had an opportunity to show the NFL that you had learned from your past transgressions and the reasons why you still weren't in the NFL and why you had to leave to make a name for yourself outside of it. And you did fairly well with the Arlington Renegades. You led them to a championship game. They were 4-6, but they still made it to the championship game. Okay. This past year, the team reverted into absolute dumpster Pelican status to start the year by starting out 0-6, but they still won 4 consecutive games to end the season to get back to where they were the previous year. But unfortunately, the league was restructured and merged with another one to the point to where a 4-6 dumpster Pelican record isn't going to get you into the playoffs and not an opportunity to play for a couple weeks to get to the UFL championship game. Not only did you revert back to where you once were in playing to that status, you were in the top 3 of the XFL in quarterback stats. Did great in the XFL. You kind of regressed a little bit in the UFL, but now you're showing the true way that you can play, and that's being a dumpster Pelican on the field for the NFL. If I'm Jim Harbaugh, I give you another week. But you might not even play that much because the ones who sat this previous week are going to actually get a little bit of playing time this next week. So instead of throwing 12 passes in this upcoming game, you might only throw half that. You might only throw 6. And if you complete 3 of those passes or less, you're not coming back for the third game. So I feel like this is the beginning of the end for Luis Perez in Los Angeles. And, it might be another quick trip back to the UFL, and we'll see how that song and dance goes. But it's not looking good for Luis Perez. And I try to be as respectable as possible because normally I get really hype and stuff during the Snowflake of the Week. But I feel really bad for him because I actually was a Luis Perez fan, even though there's way too many Texas teams in the UFL now. I still liked what I saw out of Perez the previous year, leading the team to the championship game, and I had high hopes for him in 2024 spring season. But he let me down, and now he's letting me down again as a member of the Los Angeles Chargers.
Wow. Well, I can't disagree with that pick at all. Wow. Poor fella. Poor fella. Now, hopefully he can get it straight, and obviously he'll be holding a clipboard if he does make it on the Chargers, but hopefully he could do better.
because the way he wrote this, I got to read it.
Okay.
My snowball of the week.
Snowball.
is Jerry Jones, the one you dubbed as Gerald. Mm-hmm. That lamb price just keeps growing and growing and growing. And don't get me started with Micah Parsons.
I'm trying not to pick him because I probably would find some way to pick him every single week. Otherwise, I would have gone with him because I did find it laughable that he had the nerve to opine when he wanted to take the tough stance with CeeDee Lamb, and Lamb's holding out saying Gerald, quote, "We miss you, buddy," close quote. No, really. I'm surprised. I didn't think you paid attention to the team. Goodness gracious.
And on that note, before we get to our last segment, if you're watching this for the first time on Comey Media or on Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome, please help us both out with a follow, a subscription to the channel, and clicking that like button to help us out with the algorithm out here in these streams. Both of us greatly appreciate it as we represent both of those brands. We have one last thing to get to before the post game. That is the 2-minute drill. And here for the 2-minute drill, week 11 of the CFL. The bye goes to the Toronto Argonauts, who are 5-4. Thursday's game on 8:15 in a couple of days. Got to look at 9 p.m. Eastern time. The Ottawa Redblacks, who are now 5-2-1, travel to Calgary to take on the lackluster Calgary Stampeders, who are 4-5. Who wins this game and why, Cole?
The Redblacks, they tied on the road. Stampeders are coming off of a road loss. Both teams will be playing a little hungrier. I'm going to give it to the Stampeders, though. I think they need it. They got to find a way to win. And I think the Redblacks will give them just enough opportunity for them to actually break through and get a win.
As much as I want to agree with you, for the sake of debate, to get ready for tonight, and for the fact that the Redblacks are probably really, really, really feeling it after tying this past game and want to prove themselves to be what they were before they tied that game, and the Calgary Stampeders regressing the way they did this past week against the Argonauts, I'm going with the Redblacks.
Who's giving them the business?
Now in this next game, we have on Friday, the Montreal Alouettes, who are 8-1, travel to take on the Saskatchewan Roughriders. 9 p.m. Eastern time this Friday. Who wins and why there, Co?
Man, I want to pick the Alouettes. I really do. I really want to pick them. I just think that they're due for an L, and I think they're due for an L against a team that needs to have a W, and a team that's talented enough to give them an L. And I think the Roughriders are physical and talented enough to give them an L. And I'm picking the Roughriders predicated on this one fact. If they can actually be dedicated to run the football against the Alouettes, who they seem to be allergic to running the football, I'm smelling the Roughriders giving the Alouettes their second loss.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that. I'm shocked. But I love everything I just heard at the same time. I don't want to pick against the Roughriders either. I'm going with the Roughriders as well.
Who's giving them the business?
Still caught off guard, but we're going to Saturday now. We're going to go with the Edmonton Elks, who, after starting the year 0-7, have won back-to-back games, who are now 2-7, traveling to take on the Hamilton Tiger Kitties, who are 3-6 this Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Who wins and why, Cole?
Now this one's going to be tough to pick. All right. What the hey? I'll go with the road team. I think the Elks actually will come up with their third win. The Tiger Cats defense just does not impress me. I mean, you could do almost anything you want against them. And yes, I know it's in Hamilton. I just don't have the faith in this team stopping a cold right now. And it looks like the Elks are starting to catch fire. So I'm going with the Elks in this one.
What I said before I realized I was muted is no matter how you chalk it up, this game is going to be absolutely. When you say?
Oh, yes. No question who you pick. It is going to be a bully shoe ugly game.
I suggest to all of you who actually have this pop up on your TV to take a nap during this game. This is a great time to get your nap in because this game is going to be a terrible game to watch. Okay. Now, with that being said, I'm going to agree with you. The Elks get their third consecutive win. The Hamilton Tiger Cats defense is absolutely trash. And if the Hamilton Tiger Cats win this game, I will be thoroughly surprised.
Same.
We'll have to see how it goes, though, once we come back next week.
Who's giving them the business?
Now for our final game on Sunday, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are back after their Week 10 bye. 3-6, this team, the same record as the Hamilton Tiger Kitties, along the same level of them and the Elkamos, but maybe slightly better, are playing a team that has regressed to their form, being the BC Lions, who are 5-4. If this team plays without Vernon Adams Jr. this Sunday at home, will the Blue Bombers improve to 4-6, Cole?
If the Lions play without Vernon Adams Jr., yes, they will. I can see the Blue Bombers improving to 4-6 if that's the case. If Vernon Adams Jr. is back, even with their recent woes, I think they will lick their wounds in Vancouver and get the W. Now, all right, I'll choose this game as if Vernon Adams Jr. is not going to play. So if that's the case, I think the Lions will be continuing their losing streak, and the Blue Bombers will get a W on the road.
During our last commercial break, I did my due diligence to make up for, the wild schedule that I had this past week and forgetting to look this up. But Vernon Adams Jr. suffered a knee injury a few weeks back, which is why we had that lackluster production out of him we were talking about a couple weeks ago.
Makes sense.
The reports last week were his knee was feeling much better, but he still wasn't going to play on Sunday. So it makes it sound like he's not going to be out for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's hope that he could play this upcoming weekend, and especially now that this game is on a Sunday, he's got extra time to rest.
Yeah.
I think that since they're at 5-4 and they're playing a team that's 3-6 and a team that this could be potentially a good tune-up game for him to try to revert back to old form, because sometimes there's nothing better for rehabilitation than to actually getting back into the game. Now, you don't want to play a team like on the level of the Alouettes, because then not only will you get smacked around, but you might re-injure or further injure whatever your injury is. And when it comes to one of your wheels, whether it's your knee or your foot, something along those lines, you can't mess around with that. But when it comes to getting reps to get back into form, I think this is a good game to do it in. And I think that he plays. If what I read during that commercial break in all that is true, okay? Now, there's no reports now on this day, being this early in the week, that Vernon Adams Jr. is going to play this upcoming Sunday for his team, being the BC Lions. But if he doesn't play and they lose, they went from having a good record to start the year to reverting to 500. And I don't think that he wants to do that either. I think Vernon Adams Jr. plays. For how long in the game, I don't know, but I think he plays and plays enough to make an impact, and I think it's going to be a positive one, considering how the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are 3-6 and the way they suffered those 6 losses. This team is built around Vernon Adams Jr., but they don't play well without him. So I think he plays. I think they realize it. I think they find a way to get things clicking on all cylinders, and they bounce back and are 6-4 after this game.
Yeah, if he plays, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
Hopefully we are right with that. We shall see when we come back next week. With that being said, we got to take it to our last part, being the post game.
As long as it's one.
Here for the post game, a place where we give our closing thoughts on the show. Let's go ahead and send this thing home right there, Cole. Started off with you there, brother.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. September 5th is on its way. And it almost feels like it is Christmas in September, whenever the regular season begins. And the preseason gives us a good clue as to what we should expect in terms of NFL wide and in terms of our teams wide as to what to expect. Now, I could talk about my own team, or the team that I follow closest all day, but I'm not going to do that. I could talk about the team I dislike the most because I live in the city and where they play all day. I'm not going to do that now either. What I am going to do is touch on just the play that I think we're seeing. I think we're seeing an elevated level of attention to offenses. We're seeing that offense is the way to go in terms of draft picks, in terms of momentum, in terms of advancement in playoffs. Uh, how much further you want to go in January and February. The de-emphasis on defense is a bit alarming, at least to me. And it's a bit alarming to me because you got to have that unit sustain you when your offense is stuck in the mud. And if you don't believe me, just look at how the Chiefs were last year. I mean, they were playing like hot garbage in December. Probably the second worst time to play like hot garbage. I mean, they just simply did not have it at all. They did not have the chemistry at all. They admitted it. And they gave us a Christmas Day stinker to the Raiders at home. And kudos to them. They realized that their bread is no longer strictly buttered toward Patrick Mahomes. They had to tweak, and they did. And they got a little more physical. They stopped taking as many shots down the field. And then they allowed their defense to take over. And if it wasn't for that side of the ball, we would not be talking about the Chiefs being back-to-back champs. So we have to pay attention to the fact that defense still does rule the day when it comes to being a serious contender. We could get all enamored with having the wonderful wideouts and the magnanimous quarterback and the 3-down bellwether running back and the offensive linemen that are just big uglies and nasty and they're bullies. And it's great to watch when it actually is clicking on all cylinders. But it's time to actually focus on the fact that you got 11 on the other side, that they're also paid too, but they're not paid to score. They're paid to stop you from scoring. And we may forget this in the preseason. I'm actually looking forward to September 5th because that will be the first day where, as a whole, we as football fans will remember. So we have two teams, Ravens and the Chiefs, who I think now they lean their hats a little bit defensively per se, but they do so cautiously. And I say cautiously because you have on the other side with both of them dynamic QBs, whether it is Lamar Jackson for the Ravens or Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs. To me, I always look at how the season is going to be with that first game. And I want to see how the defenses of the Ravens and the Chiefs do in that particular game. So then I can actually look forward to either, oh, this is going to be a season where offense rules the day, or it's going to be a season where you're going to have to earn your points and points come at a premium. Whichever way, I'll be excited because football will be back and be back in very short order. And I'm looking forward to it.
It's definitely an exciting time, whether it's, NFL, and it being back September 5th. We're just on the cusp of it. We're very, very close. So it's going to be interesting to see what decisions are made between now and that point for who stays and who goes and who's going to make an impact in that first week of the NFL season. So very, very well said, Cole. I'm 100% with you on that. This part of the show is always the toughest one because it's like the end of the show, and it's tough. You know, we used to have this show going for 3 hours. It's pretty close to it now. But, you know, when it comes to every time we get to this point of the show, it's like Christmas. You know, when you're having a great time and the family members start to go home, you don't want it to end quite yet. You want it to keep going, right? I have fun with this show each and every week, and we have been here for 50 consecutive weeks. It's a tough feat to do. The fact that 50 consecutive weeks, episode 50 is here. You know, I've had some really great accomplishments in my lifetime. Bounce back from some things, but this right here is probably one of my proudest ones, and I put this up there with the In or Out Sports Debate being 1A or in 1B. And I honestly would have to say this show's probably 1A at this point, because even with that show, I couldn't keep it going 50 consecutive weeks. I didn't have the willpower to keep it going 50 consecutive weeks. Cole and I have faced our challenges with our own work schedules and life that have thrown us curveballs throughout these 50 consecutive weeks, and we still have this show 50 weeks later for its 50th episode. I'm very proud of that, especially when if you thought about how his life is with the things he has going on, and especially mine. Okay. This is the definition of true teamwork right here and how things go. You know, you always have to have somebody that's in your corner, and we're in each other's corners, supporting our own brands, supporting our own work. And this being one of my favorite pieces of art that I've put out there, I'm looking forward to getting to episode 100, you know, and all that in the future. You know, I'm looking forward to what this show can do, and the new transitions and stuff that are brewing, the things that Cole has to bring to it, whatever promotional things I can do to help it keep it going and get more eyes on it. The one thing that hasn't been consistent throughout those 50 weeks is what time, what day. It's had to be adjusted because of the things I just previously mentioned. I didn't finish this show out with the football talk because I've talked a lot of football with Cole, and I've talked a lot in this episode. But when you think of episode 50, think about milestones that you achieve with your career, or in this with our passion to make it something one day of that, and the hurdles that we've had to jump to get to this point. Episode 50 is pretty special, and it's special to me, and I know Cole can say the same. We are live right now on your TV screen, on your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, or you're listening to us via WQEE 99.1 FM or on Real Wise Radio. So thank you, whoever is watching or listening, supporting us, whether it's with this show or with tonight being the final episode at this date and time for the In or Out Sports Debate, or when the Commander's Gridiron Report starts this week for its consecutive run to run episodes throughout the entirety of the rest of this year for the 2024 season. So that's what I'm doing. And you already know with what my man Cole is doing when it comes to the morning shift with him on BS3 Network, which you could check out Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Central. Check it out on Roku, BS3 Network, or on Cole's YouTube channel at BS3 Morning Shift. Cole Johnson, each and every weekday. Please make sure that you're tuning into that show, because it is something like you've not seen before. It is not like those stale TV shows you see on your regular cable TV show. If I had a better schedule and wasn't asleep during that time, I would be watching it live instead of when it's in post-production. So in my final take, what I like to do in most cases is spread the love as much as possible. I know last week with the Sam Darnold take got a little dicey, okay? My feelings don't change from that either. I'll still do the right thing, but my feelings haven't changed. But keeping the love going here and now, I will always give praise and support wherever and whenever as much as I possibly can. When it's time to drop the hammer, reality checks, I'm gonna give it to you too. And I'm gonna do it to your face and on a TV screen and on a phone, whatever, because I ain't scared. You're talking to a man who faced death, okay? And is still here. Doesn't mean I'm not gonna face it again. I probably will. We all die, okay? But here and now, there's certain different things that I task that I do because of what happened, because you never know if you're not gonna wake up tomorrow, okay? And I give you each and every single episode my best. Not a try hard. I am just being genuine and doing my best to help elevate this show to where it possibly can. So you guys are the ones to make the decision on where you think it is by clicking the like button, by clicking the share button, by dropping those comments. And we appreciate you all for tuning in. I know 2.5 hours is a long time for a show, for the radio trimmed down to 2. And the best part about the last 30 seconds is the radio won't hear any of that. But right here and now, they will hear that with my man Cole Johnson, 50 episodes are in the book. And we've only got one more thing left to do. And that's for Kyle to send us home.
Well, congratulations, brother, for 50 shows. Man, can't believe we've done this 50 straight weeks in a row. But yes, if you want to find out where you can actually reach my brother Drew, all you have to do is go onto the social media handles that you see right there. So _media at Instagram, _media at X, and the _ on TikTok, and of course, Surtoba Media on YouTube. Now, if you want to reach me, you can find Old Cole Johnson at flowco.com/page /host Cole Johnson. That's flowco.com /page /host Cole Johnson. Well, as my brother said, I'll say it to you as well. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing, subscribing, commenting as well. Thank you, TFT Tribe. We appreciate you. And thank you for hitting that notification bell so you can catch every type of content, not just Total Football Talk, that comes from the Surtoba Media YouTube channel and the Comey Media Incorporated YouTube channel. We appreciate you and we love you. For Drew Willingham, I'm Cole Johnson, here to say in parting, as we always do, in life, just like a tackle, keep your head up. And always remember, you got to play until the whistle blows.
And as always, stay safe out here in these streets.